Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Developer Waypoints. Thanks for coming out. Waypoints is a new live coding series where we pick a topic, technology or product, and we dive into that over a season of episodes, and we explore how to use it with our platform. So you'll join us, start building something from scratch, and we'll, over a series of episodes, we'll build on that thing, and by the end of the season we'll have something cool and new, and we can show it off. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I am Peter Malahan. I'm a senior UX designer from here, and to my left,
I'm Nick Raboy, and I'm a lead developer evangelist at here.
Nice. So, Nick, season 1. This is the first episode. What are we doing? We're doing JavaScript?
Yeah, so the focus of this episode, as well as the 3 episodes that follow it, will be on our JavaScript SDK. So, in particular, we're gonna be looking at developing with the Here JavaScript SDK. We're gonna look at including an interactive map and then adding map objects to that map. So things like markers, polylines, just anything that can sit on top of the map. We're also going to be looking at our developer portal, which is going to be crucial when it comes to getting involved with here. But then
Yes.
for future episodes, I don't know if Peter, are you interested in hearing the next 3 kind of summary?
Well, let's have people, if you're interested to join us on this episode, go on this journey with us. You'll have to go to developer.here.com. The link's in chat. There's also links below the video if you look underneath our channel page. If you go to dev.here.com and sign up real quick, it's free. You don't even need a credit card, but you'll need to have access to that to continue.
Did you say dev.here.com, Peter?
Developer.here.com. I shortened it.
Developer.
Sorry.
Yeah, definitely type developer. I don't know where dev leads you.
Yeah. But there's a link in chat right now, and you can get a link underneath this episode.
Awesome. Yeah. So then, should I jump right into it, Peter, or should I? Where should we start?
I think so. Yeah. Do you want to share our GitHub right now, or do you want to wait until we?
No. I'll share it right now. It's also in the link section on the Twitch page. But at the end of every episode, I'm going to do a push to this repo. It's it's github.com/heremaps/devrel livestreams. And in particular, the episodes, the code that I push for this particular season will end up in the Developer Waypoints Season 1 directory. And then Peter's going to share that link as well at some point.
Yeah, links in chat, and links also below the video.
Yeah, so expect it there. So if at any point maybe we go too fast or you want to revisit it later, the code will be available.
Yep. Also, we're recording this episode. I see there's questions in chat. Yes, we'll be recording this episode, and we'll be uploading it to our YouTube channel afterwards. So if you're not able to make it through the whole episode, or you miss a different piece, at the end of this episode, I'll add a link to our Twitch page to help take you to our YouTube account that you can find our past episodes. And in future episodes, we'll just do a recap of what we did previously. And we'll have that all available to consume later.
I don't think Peter mentioned this, but I think we have about a 10-second delay, right, on this video stream?
I think it's like 5 seconds, so it's pretty quick. So if you're commenting in chat, I'm keeping an eye on that. And ideally, this is a live coding series. So if you have any questions, if you're coming into any issues while you're coding, or you're trying to follow along, you have questions, post it in chat. I'll relay it to Nick, and Nick will try to answer it. There's also 2 mods in chat that next to their name is a little sword, so they are also there to help. If we're not able to get to your question, they can try to answer it too. So yeah, just ask questions, give suggestions. And let's just jump into it.
Yeah, awesome. So as you can see on my screen, hopefully you can see it on my screen, I do have our developer portal up and loaded. So this, like I mentioned previously, is kind of the central hub to our APIs. You can see all of the products that we offer. You can register for an account. You can access your API tokens. You can do a lot of great things. And I don't think Peter mentioned it, but as far as pricing goes, when you sign up for an account, you do get 250,000 requests for free every month, and that resets every month back to 0. And there's no credit card required to access that either. So it's very convenient, and you can easily sign up and follow along with us. In terms of our documentation, and I'll just run through it real quick, we do have quite a few APIs to offer when it comes to maps and location services. So we can do anything from just the interactive map. We can do things like geocoding, routing, a lot of very cool stuff. Peter, what exactly is your favorite API that we offer?
Nick, my favorite API is Isoline.
Isoline, and that's
very cool.
That's part of the routing, and that's actually what we're going to be talking about in episode 4. It's also my favorite part of the APIs as well, because I coincidentally,
yeah.
So it's a very cool feature, and you'll see what it offers soon.
Yeah, this was planned, but it is honestly both of our favorite.
It is. Yeah.
Hey Nick, if you wanna zoom your screen in a little bit, at least on desktop, so it's a little
better.
Easier. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So if at any point that you want to look at our APIs, just click on the documentation tab, and I'll be going back and forth between some of the documentation as I progress through the code. But assuming that by now you've created an account, if you haven't already logged in and clicked on projects, go ahead and do so. You can see I do have 2 projects created. You might only have one that says freemium and then the current timestamp. Just go ahead and click on one of your projects, and you'll be brought to a dashboard that looks kind of like this, where you can actually change the name of your project. You can also view analytic information about what's going on with your API tokens. So for example, if I wanted to look at my usage details, and the timestamp is the 23rd and we're on the 27th, so only a few days have passed from this particular time, but you can see that my API requests have been for the map tiles API. So the interactive map, I've done a few geocoding requests, I've done a few routing requests, and I'm totaling at about 725 API requests of my very large 250,000. So you get a lot of details into what you can, what exactly you're doing with your APIs, how your users are engaging in your application. For this particular set of episodes in the series, we're going to be focusing primarily on the JavaScript and REST API. You will need to generate a token. I've already generated the tokens, but if you haven't, you'll see a blue or green turquoise looking button there. If you click on one of those, it'll generate the tokens for you. And you can do that for Android, iOS, whatever your needs are. And one of the questions I receive quite a bit in regards to the API tokens is around securing them. So a common question that I receive is, what happens because any kind of JavaScript application, they can view your source code at any time. So what happens if somebody takes your API tokens and tries to use them in their application? And,
like right now with yours.
Yeah, you can see mine on the screen. So instead of letting somebody else hike up a bill for you, what you can actually do is secure those tokens to a specific domain. So if your domain is example.com and you don't want anyone outside of example.com to use your tokens, you can set up you can secure them to that domain, which is convenient.
Are you just going to leave yours open?
Leave mine open? Sure, why not? I'll change it up later. We'll see if anyone tries to steal my tokens here.
Okay.
That kind of leaves us going right into the code. Unless, Peter, you have any kind of things you want to add to this?
No, I think that's there's no questions so far. But if anybody is confused at this point, feel free to ask.
Sure.
We'll continue. Let's move.
Yeah. So I do have my terminal open. I actually did clone the GitHub repo first because this is where I'm going to be doing all my work. But what we want to do is we want to navigate deeper into it. So we want to go to developer waypoints. We want to go into season 1. And then I'm going to have an episode 1 directory or an episode 2. It's going to be split up so that way you can access the specific code for that particular episode. So we're going to be focusing on episode 1. Inside of your directory, you want to create one file. You want to create an index.html file. You can create it with your terminal. You can right-click on inside that directory and choose to create a new file. You can create it however you want. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to do it this way. I have one file in that directory. I'm going to open it in an editor. Doesn't really matter what editor you use. I'm using Atom by GitHub. You can use Visual Studio Code. You can use one of the JetBrains editors, Notepad, whatever you want. Let's go ahead and start by adding some boilerplate code. So this isn't even, it doesn't even have anything to do with here as of now. So I'm just going to add some HTML. And I'm going to add a head and a body. So this is just boilerplate code. The first part in getting our application working with here is we want to obtain the here JavaScript SDK. And the easiest way to do that is to head over to the documentation once again. We can click on the interactive maps documentation. I just opened it in a new tab. And then when that loads, click on JavaScript because that's what we're focusing on. So it's a little tab there. And in the quick start, there are two script links, which I'm just going to copy and paste directly into the code.
How convenient.
Yeah, pretty convenient.
Yeah, also in chat now, I added a link, so it's a little easier to get to that.
Perfect. So let me clean this up real quick. And this, I copied it because it's not something that a lot of people are going to remember because it's a long URL. So being able to go to that link and just copying it is pretty convenient. But these are two modules from the JavaScript SDK. So we have map core, which is going to be for displaying our map. And then we have map service, which is going to give us services like the geocoder, routing, things like that, which we're going to see in a later episode. There's going to be another script that we're going to add as well, but I'm not going to add it quite yet. I'm going to wait till we get there. It's in this particular episode. But this, what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's at the right before the closing body tag for your application. So with the two modules added, we want to add empty script tag. This empty script tag is going to be where all of our logic goes for interacting with our map. The first step is to initialize the here platform. So this is unrelated to a map. This is just initializing the here platform so that way we can start using all of the available services. So this is where we plug in our app ID and app token that we generated. And what we can do is we can say constant, we can say platform, and we can say equals new H. So H is for here, service.platform. And we're just going to add app ID and app code. And I can go ahead and copy those directly from our developer portal. So I am logged in. I'm going to copy app ID. And I'm going to copy the app code.
Seems simple enough.
So far, so good, right, Peter? And I'm going to probably check on Peter to make sure he's not falling asleep and make some errors that he can maybe catch on my behalf, right?
I'm looking.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that before I've seen 3 different calls to different services for Map.js. Are you missing one? Or are you not including the one for interactivity?
Yeah, so I did that intentionally as of now. So I wanted to show what the difference was. So by default, and I could add it now as well, by default, you're going to get a map when you choose to display a map, but you're not going to be able to interact with it. It's just going to be a static image on your screen. To actually be able to interact with the map, so doing things like pan and zoom, things like that, any kind of gesture events, you got to add a third module, and this is actually the map events module. Just like that. And there are other modules. There's UI modules, but it varies depending on what you want to accomplish. Does that make sense, Peter?
Makes sense.
So if I were to open this up in my browser, let's go ahead and open this directory. Double click this HTML file. You can see it's blank. Pretty amazing, right, Peter?
Looks good.
Yeah,
It's minimal.
There's nothing going on yet. All we've done is we've initialized the platform. We haven't told it to geocode anything or route or display any kind of map. So that's what we want to accomplish now.
And how do we do that?
Yeah, so when it comes to displaying a map, this is all done through JavaScript. So it's going to happen after your HTML page loads. So what we need to do is we have to have a placeholder element. So this placeholder element loads when the page loads, but then the JavaScript loads the map into that placeholder. And we can do that above the script tags. We can basically say div ID equals map. It doesn't really matter what you call the ID, just the fact that it's there. You need to be able to reference it later on. So the ID is important. We can also specify some style information, and I'll change the style information as we progress. So right now I'm just going to keep it simple. 100 by 600 pixels. We have a placeholder object. And now I can actually populate that placeholder. So I can add some more code here. I can say constant map equals new h.map. And I could provide it a few parameters when initializing this map. So the first one would be that placeholder. So I can say document.getElement by ID. And you could use query selectors. There's various other approaches towards getting that particular reference. But this works for this scenario. I'm going to call it map because that's what I named it up here. They match. The next step is I need to define the layer that I want to use. So I'm going to say platform.create. Oh, let me just mute my the Amazon here.
Is that Alexa trying to jump in? Does she have a question?
She must have a question.
All right.
Create default layers. Let's go ahead and call it normal.map. And we need to define where it's going to be centered on when it loads and what's the zoom level going to be. So the zoom, we're going to say, 10. And then the center point is going to be latitude and longitude coordinates. I'm not, I don't have a memorization of latitude and longitude coordinates. So I'm going to just make some up here. And we're going to worry about where it ends up afterwards. So I'm just going to give it some whole numbers. So latitude and longitude. I know that it's in California. I don't know where in California in the United States, but I know that this is somewhere in California. So I'm going to have that, and I'm going to save it. So if I were to go back into my web browser now and refresh the screen, I have a map. Yeah, like I said, I can't. I'm moving it around on my mouse. It's not moving around. I can't zoom in on it. It's just a static image right now.
It's a good looking map.
Yeah. You can actually change the way that the map looks too. So this is just a basic normal map. If I wanted to, I can actually change it. Let's go ahead and change it to satellite. I can save it and I can refresh the screen. And now it's a satellite map.
Nice.
So there's other options. I haven't memorized all of the different map types that you can use, but there are plenty available.
Okay. Real quick from chat, KJot is asking, came a little bit late. Mind explaining what we're doing? I'll take a stab at it.
Sure.
We're setting up a simple map right now through our own web page. You have to first go into developer.here.com to get access to our portal, and then you can get an app ID and an app code, and then you can plug that into your site to be able to start drawing a map on your page. Nick, you can correct me with how wrong I was with that statement.
No, it's fine.
Also, Babsdy's back. Babsdy says, this looks good. What if I want the map to be full screen?
And we want the full screen map, and I'm no CSS wizard, but I think what you can do is you could say 100, and Babsdy might be able to correct me on this, 100 VH, and that's a width. 100, this
VW?
one should be VH. Yeah, that should be VW. Or W. What is it? I actually don't know. Babsdy can correct me. Is Babsdy typing anything in the chat?
Babsdy's silent right now. W.
VW.
Yep, Volkswagen.
All right, let's go ahead and try it. So it
Oh,
looks like
there
a
you
full
go.
screen. I have a little bit of a margin there. I can actually remove that margin. I can just remove it from the body. And I'm just inlining it. Probably don't want to inline it in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Cleaner approaches
You can
here.
do like a separate style sheet, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So I just changed the margin to 0. Now it looks a lot cleaner. It's
Wow.
edge to edge, right?
Looks great.
Thanks, Babs D.
Kubera speaking says you can use percent.
It's very possible. I'm definitely not very fluent when it comes to CSS. So I only know the basics when it comes to that.
Okay. I don't think I've ever heard of the VWVH.
Yeah, it must be modern because I hadn't heard of it until recently either. All right, so we have the map. Like I said, you can't pan, you can't zoom, you can't do any of that great stuff yet. But we did include the map events module, so I can actually add interaction to that map with just 2 lines. So the first line would be to initialize a map event on the map. So I can say constant and say map events equal new h.map events map events and pass in that map that we created up here. So this map on line 13.
And the uppercase and lowercase, that's important, right, for that second one?
Yeah. It is. So I believe it's case sensitive. So yeah, for the class, it's actually going to be capitalized like that.
Camel case.
Oh,
right? Camel case?
I think camel case would start with a lowercase character.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Never mind. Move on.
No worries. So constant. The next step of this is we need to define a behavior. And we can say new h.map events behavior. And then we pass in map events. So just like that. So map events is what we defined on line 21.
If you want to scroll down a little bit, my head is blocking, or I could move myself.
No. Let me. There we go. Is that better?
That's better.
All right. So
I moved over too.
No worries. All right.
Shift a little closer to you.
Very nice. All right. So if I refresh the screen here, now I actually have control of this map. So I can zoom in, and it was as easy as 2 lines. So we're making progress, right, Peter?
Nice. Yep. Palermo for Twitch says Pascal versus camel casing. Devs need to know. I don't know what's Pascal.
I don't know. I haven't heard of that one.
Oh no.
I know, that's pretty bad, right?
Yeah. OK Computer says VH and VW units are percentages of the viewport height and width. Oh.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're all learning. So this is why we're doing this, so we can all learn together.
Yeah, I guess so.
Good job.
Yeah, I'm learning something every time. All right, so we've got that map. Now it might make sense. Well, now we want to maybe add things to that map. And I think the simplest might be to add a marker. So like a drop pin on the map. And we can actually do something like this. We can say constant, let's call it marker 1. And let's say this equals new h.map.marker. And for the marker, it's expecting a latitude and longitude. Which I'm going to actually copy from the center because I'm not a wizard when it comes to latitude and longitude. And that's not going to be an issue because in a later episode, I think it's episode number 3, we're going to start working with geocoders to make it completely irrelevant to the end user. We're going to be working with address information instead. So that should be easy. So I saved that. It's not actually on the map yet. I've just created a marker. Now I can add it to the map as a map object. So I can say map.add object marker 1. If I saved it and I went back into the browser and hit refresh, I now have this nice map marker right here.
There we go.
And those map markers, you can add images to them. This is just the default marker. But a lot of times I think people will add like library images or who knows, right? Do you have any weird use cases, Peter?
Weird use cases for markers?
For marker
icons?
For marker icons, like anything that's like abnormal.
I don't know.
Like a cool use case, I guess.
If you want to mark the bars in your area, your favorite restaurants, I don't know.
So put like a beer glass or something?
Sure.
That works.
Oh, Palermo jumps in. Pascal is casing with capital D. Well, it's hard to. We're do work where the D and the W are both uppercase.
Got it. Yeah.
Camel casing is lowercase d, uppercase W.
Got it. Yeah, I didn't know what Pascal casing was, the term. So I guess I learned something today.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and add another marker. This time I'll call it maybe constant marker 2. New age.map marker. And since again, not too fluent on marker positions, I'm just going to change it ever so slightly and hope that it's still in our viewport here. So 37.2, let's go ahead and maybe call this 02. I can save it. And now there's 2 ways to actually add the markers as objects. So what I could do is I could clone this line and I could just say marker 1 and marker 2 like that. Or what I could do is I could do something like map.addObjects, plural, and provide an array. So marker 1 and then maybe marker 2. So it's up to you on what exactly it is that you're doing. But I'll leave it as an array for now and save it some typing. So I'll comment that out.
Mm-hmm.
But if I saved it,
looking toward the future.
Yeah. Planning
ahead
about the future.
Yeah.
So if I go back and refresh, I now have a marker that's kind of looks almost right above it. Maybe I can add a third marker and maybe see if I can come. Maybe Peter, you have a number that might position it better.
Oh.
Do you have a latitude and longitude I should use?
I don't know. Do a 0.2 on both of them, maybe, right?
0.2.
Oh, you're gonna have to scroll down. My big head's.
Oh yeah, sorry
again. There we go.
Like that. Try it.
Yeah, see how far that goes.
All right, looks better. So now
up
we have
in the mountains.
Yeah, somewhere in the mountains.
We're planning out a hiking trip.
Yeah, could work. So now that we have markers on the map, maybe we want to draw lines between those markers. So this is what's known as a polyline, and there's a 2-step process to make that possible. First, we need to create a line string, which would be a collection of all the points that we want to draw between, and then the polyline, which would be actually the visual element to that. So what I could do, I'll actually do it below here. I'll just say constant. I'll say line string equals new h.geo dot line string, and I want to add points to that line string. So I can say something like line string push point, and I can say let's go ahead and say marker 1 dot get position. Or I could actually, you know what, I can say this instead. Make it, let's keep it a little cleaner. I can say constant. I can say 0.1 equals you know what? Let's scrap it. I don't know where I'm going with that.
You're trying to draw between 2 points, right?
I am. So let's go ahead and add another line string.
Okay.
Push point
for the marker 2.
Marker 2. Get position, and really what get position is returning. So it's returning a geo point. So it's actually an h.geo.point, and that information includes the longitude and latitude information
that you already put in there.
Yeah, that I already provided. So that's the line string. It's not going to render it on the screen. I can actually render it on the screen by saying constant polyline equals new h.map.polyline, and I could pass some parameters in here. So the first parameter would be that line string. The second parameter could be style information. So how thick do I want that line to be, or what color do I want it to be, or in other circumstances, what do I want the fill color to be if I'm doing kind of a bounding area. But for this, what we can say is, we can say that stroke color. Let's make it green. You could provide hexadecimal color values. You could include RBGA values. It's up to you. It's the same. Same what you would find
like
in
CSS styling?
Yeah,
okay,
CSS.
Cool. Nice. Kjot is asking, is there any reason that you're doing this in an HTML file?
No reason. So typically, what we might want to do is we might want to pull it into a separate JavaScript file, maybe even follow modern JavaScript practices, like create a JavaScript class for this and create functions for each of these. But it's totally up to you. I'm inlining it so that way it's kind of maybe a little easier to follow as the story progresses.
Yep. Yeah, we're trying to keep this all in one place just so it's more readable for the viewer to understand what we're doing, so we're not jumping between a bunch of different files.
Yeah, in the final episode, or if people request it, I'll clean it up and I'll make it more easy to read towards the end. Let's go ahead and add. Let's go ahead.
Stroke thickness?
Let's go ahead and add a line width. Let's make it a thickness of 5. And it's not added to the map yet. I need to add it as one of these objects. Let's go ahead and say Polyline. And I can go back to my browser. And now I have a line. It kind of blends in with the satellite. Let's go ahead and change.
Let's change it to base map, right?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and change that to just a normal map. Refresh it. Yeah, now it's easier to see, right?
Nice and clean.
Yeah.
Beautiful green line. It's just standard green.
Yeah. So one thing that I get asked a lot, and more particularly recently, is, well, what if, so this is a straight line. It doesn't represent any kind of actual path. But what if I wanted to calculate the distance between these 2 points, right? Instead of just rendering it on the map.
And not like a routing distance, but just a straight line.
Yeah, not a routing distance that measures traffic conditions or speed or anything like that. Just an actual distance between these 2 points.
A drone flight path.
Sure, could be that. Yeah, because maybe you're concerned that you might be out of range from your radio transmitter, right? Or the battery might die after a certain distance. I'm sure there's tons of other scenarios where that would be beneficial.
That's the only one.
The only one. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Makes sense. So let's go ahead and calculate that. So there's actually a function that we can use. It makes use of the Haversine algorithm. But what we can do is we can do something like constant distance. We can say marker equals marker1 dot get position dot distance. So what we're saying is we want to get the distance from marker 1 to marker 2 dot get position, and it works off of points. So remember,
you're gonna have to scroll down just a little bit.
The h.geo point. Remember that, Peter?
Yep.
Yeah. So it works off the points, but we're getting the distance between those two markers. And rather than trying to display it on the screen, I'm just going to spit it out in my logs. Let's say distance.
Palermo for Twitch is saying what you're about to share on distance was influenced by a recent hackathon.
It was
in Oakland.
Yeah, it was influenced by that. We got that question quite a bit, which is good because I didn't know that it existed as part of our SDK. So I learned something that day.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll refresh. Actually, I want to go into my developer tools somewhere. And I'll zoom in. As you can see, the distance between those 2 points would be a little more than 22,000 meters between those 2 points.
Can you convert that in your head to miles?
No, not at all.
Can you have it output in miles, or is it all set up to be meters?
I think it's set up to be meters. There may be a conversion feature part of our SDK. Or I think it's just a very simple division, but I'm not a
true. Well, you know what? Let's note that and let's try to figure that out for next time.
Yeah, maybe, sure. All right, so we have a distance. So let's add some more map objects to this map. Let's go ahead and go back into the code here. Another thing that might be important for people is maybe we want to add like a circle around our marker because maybe you're developing something mobile and you're representing where you are and maybe some kind of geofence, a circular geofence, right? So what I could do is I can say constant, I can say circle equals new h.map.circle. Let me scroll down a little bit so that way it's
There
not,
you
in
go.
case you're blocking it. I don't know.
Just think of
But
it's like 7 lines up from the bottom.
yeah. So what we could do is I think what we can do is I could say, you know what, I want it to be around marker 1, so I could say marker 1 get position. That's where it will be centered on. I want to provide how big is the radius, and this should be in meters as well. So since I'm pretty far zoomed out on the map, I probably want to make it say 4,000 meters. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to see it unless I zoom in all the way. And then what I could do is I could provide style information in a similar fashion to what we did for the polyline. But for now, we're just going to use the defaults. I'm going to add that circle to the objects list. And I'm going to go back into the browser. So you can see it added a circle with transparency. Does that make sense, Peter?
Yes, that makes sense. I was reading a Palermo had a long explanation.
Explanation on what?
He says, even without knowing how the numeric distance translates, what it does provide is relative distance compared to other distances to determine which marker among many is nearer or farther. Okay.
All right.
Helpful.
Yeah, it is. Definitely. So we have a circle. That's another opportunity. Maybe I want to draw a line between all of these and fill it in with a fill, right? That could be a potential need as well, right, Peter?
Yeah, make a nice triangle right there.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that. We can actually do that. So we can choose to do it as a rectangle, or we could do a more, I guess, exotic shape using a polygon. So we're going to focus on the polygon rather than just a plain rectangle.
Sounds exotic.
Yeah, exotic. So I'm going to say constant. I'm going to say polygon equals new h.map.polygon. And it's gonna follow the same strategy. I'm gonna pass in the line string, except for we do need to make changes to that line string in a second, because right now we have just a line. We need to add more to the region that we want to encapsulate. So we'll have the line string for now, and I'll go back and change it. We also maybe want to add some styling information. Maybe I want to say style. I'll zoom down. For style information, maybe we want to have the stroke color again. Maybe this time it's going to be black. And if you memorize hexadecimal color value, CSS color values, more power to you on this. We can do the line width. Let's say 5 again. And instead of drawing both the polyline and the polygon, I'm just going to say polygon. I'm also going to add another point to that polygon. So I'm going to add marker 3. I have 3 markers here. Saved it. I go back into Google Chrome and refresh.
Wow.
You can see that it now connected all the dots.
That's first try. Good work.
Yeah. And if I wanted to, I can change the fill color on that too. So if I wanted to, I can go back into my code. I could say, you know what? Let's go ahead and say fill color. Let's make it a nice red. There's going to be no transparency on this because it's going to be a solid red. But if you used a hex value or an RBGA, you could add transparency to it. So refresh. Now it's a solid red.
That's even better. That looks great.
Does it?
That's almost as good as standard green.
Standard green? Yeah, almost.
Yeah, standard red is great. No transparency.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what we had set out to do in this first episode. We just wanted to get you familiar with drawing this interactive map, just adding a few map objects to it. We're going to get progressively more complicated in every episode. but nothing is going to be particularly difficult. It's just going to be different.
Yeah, that's not very many lines of code to get this type
Yeah, I
of
mean, what do I have? With the
interaction ready.
HTML included, I have less than 57 lines because I have comments in here as well. So I don't know, 50 lines of code got us this far, so it's
Yeah.
not too bad.
And you could be a little more efficient and
Oh yeah,
tuck things into different files and get a style sheet going.
yeah, we could definitely clean it up, and I think it. What I'll do is in the final episode of the season, I'll clean it all up so that way it looks more attractive and more maintainable long term.
Awesome. So what's next from here?
Yeah, so next episode, we're going to see how to replace our renderer right here. So this map renderer, we're going to use actually an open source library called Leaflet instead. So we're going to be working with here's data, but we're going to just be using a different renderer. So
Cool.
that's kind of just to show that we have options when it comes to using the here products.
Is there any limit on what kind of renderers that you could work with?
I
Or is it any?
don't know about limits, but there's quite a few that are compatible.
Nice.
So yeah, don't feel obligated if you have a preference in another technology and you want to use it with here. More power to you.
Awesome. So, Nick, what's next? Are you going to push this to GitHub?
Yeah, actually, so what I could do, and actually I want to remove, even though that everyone's ripped off my app ID and app code by now, I want to remove them before I push them. Let's go ahead and say, I'll go to my root path here. So I'll say, I'll add it.
Stallwalker is asking, can you go back to your constant polyline?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me just do this push real quick.
Okay. I wanted to get that in.
It should be up on GitHub after this completes.
Okay.
All right. So
and there's a link in chat if you
Yeah.
if you want to go to our GitHub page. It should be directed to, you can find it's under Developer Waypoint Season 1. Am I correct?
yeah. Let me
Okay.
go to it. So I'll refresh my page here. So this is the root of the page. I'll go to Season 1, Episode 1, and then bam, here's our code.
Wow. Perfect.
Sound good?
Yeah. Yeah. So once we wrap this up, I'll bring this episode down and I'll keep it up, but I'll download it and put it up. It'll be linked to YouTube, so you can have this file as a template for yourself if you want to start messing around with this. And if you missed part of the stream, you can go back and rewatch it. Yeah, go back to that Polyline and maybe explain.
Right here.
Yeah.
So what was the question? I'm sorry, I forgot already.
Just saying to go back to it and maybe outline some of the objects that you're calling through.
Outlines. Yeah. So for the polyline, so to compose a polyline, so the polyline is just a graphic that we display on the screen, but to compose it, we actually need to create a line string. And the line string is just a series of points. And you'll see that in a later episode when we worry about routing, the route, which is not going to be a straight line, is still composed of polylines and the line string.
Okay, so you can keep adding line strings technically, and it'll build a polygon based off that.
It's one line string. We're just adding points to it.
Okay.
And between the two map objects, we have a polyline and we have a polygon.
Oh, okay.
So the polygon would have a fill to it. It's when all of the dots in your shape are connected.
Okay.
Whereas the line string is just we could have multiple. I'll show you. I'll change this polygon to polyline, where we have 3 points. I can go to my web browser. I can refresh, and you see how now it's
Okay.
only lines connected.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that's helpful to illustrate the difference.
Yeah.
You think of a line as just between 2 points, but if you make a polyline, then it's multiple points.
It could be. Doesn't have to be.
Okay, that's true.
Well, then,
Okay.
is there anything else you want to add to this show, Peter, before we call it a close?
No. Do you want to maybe outline our? Oh, you already talked about our next
Yeah.
episode. We're using Leaflet. I'll cut your screen so you don't have to worry about sharing anymore.
Got it.
I'll bring us back to a bigger display. Yeah. So thank you everyone for coming and participating. I think that was a very a fun first episode to go through. So as I said, the recording of this episode I'll post to YouTube. I'll keep live broadcasts up on our Twitch account so you can watch through that or watch through YouTube, and I'll include links down below our live stream to go to the appropriate sites to watch. The next episode, let me throw a calendar up on screen real quick. You can see this calendar below the stream right now. So Developer Waypoints, the series that you're watching right now, is every other Wednesday, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So same time that we did today. In 2 weeks, we're going to do this again for the next episode. And so at the start of the next episode, we'll recap what we did today, and then continue on from there. So we got some applause in chat, Nick. You did good. Good job. Yes. So make sure that you if you want to continue to watch and you want to be reminded that when we're streaming, you can click the follow button on our Twitch account up above, and you'll be emailed whenever we go live. And I usually, so like this episode, I went live a little earlier and give a little countdown so you could plan accordingly. But we start around 11. So different time zones question. That is a future thing that we'll have to look into. Right now, this at least for this season, we're going to stay in this 11 o'clock time slot. And depending on feedback from viewers, we can open up a few more seasons or different series that are better for different time zones. But yes, that's a good question. So depending on feedback, if people are like, hey, this is way too late, you need to do a different time, then we can look at that and we can work on it. We're getting a question to high five. Do you want a high five, Nick?
I don't know.
There you go. Clearly, we're both in the same room. Obviously.
Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's it. I'll post again into chat. I think I added the yes. So GitHub's in there. If you want to go and if you liked what you saw, and you want to go to sign up at Developer Portal to start poking around. There's a link for that too. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. And we'll see you next time. Next Thursday. Or next Wednesday. Thank you.